Every morning, I carefully go around the rice fields, exploring every patch of muddy land, looking for the golden snails that have been a threat to the rice plants that I planted with great hope. Day after day, I pick them up one by one, put them in a bucket, hoping that their numbers will decrease and my rice fields will be calm again. At first, my efforts seemed to bear fruit. The number of snails I found was getting smaller, and I thought that I had won this battle. I felt satisfied, thinking that the young rice that had just started growing could grow without any disturbance. However, that happiness did not last long. A few days later, when I returned to the rice fields, I was surprised by a sight that made my spirit collapse. Among the mud and still puddles of water, small snails began to appear. They were still young, their shells small and soft, but their numbers were much greater than I had expected. I realized that, despite my efforts to reduce their population, their eggs had already spread to various corners of the rice fields, waiting for the right moment to hatch. I took a deep breath, realizing that my struggle was not over. If I let my guard down, they would continue to breed, crawling up the still fragile rice stalks, and eating away at the harvest hopes that I had planted since the beginning of the season. I had to fight again, finding a way to not only eradicate the adult snails, but also prevent their eggs from hatching and spreading further. This rice field was my life, my source of income, and I would not give up so easily. I began to look for new ways, digging up information on how to deal with this pest more effectively. Maybe by spreading ducks in the rice field, which are known to be natural predators of snails, or finding other methods that were more environmentally friendly but still effective. The days ahead would be a test of patience and perseverance. However, I believed that as long as I kept trying, in the end this rice field would be fertile again, free from the threat of the snails that continued to appear. When I came to the rice fields, I saw that my rice fields were so fertile and green. However, I knew that behind this tranquility, there was a constant threat lurking: greedy golden snails, ready to eat away at the young rice plants that I had just planted with great hope. I had been hunting them for days, even weeks. Every step I took on the mud always resulted in a new discovery: snails hiding underwater, between the rice stalks, or attached to the surface of the mud. I had collected hundreds, even thousands, throwing them far from the rice fields so that they would not return. At first, I felt their numbers were decreasing, and that made me a little relieved. However, that hope did not last long. In the last few days, I saw something that tested my spirit again. Small snails began to appear in greater numbers than I had expected. I realized that they came from eggs that I had previously not realized existed. I may have destroyed many of the adult snails, but a new generation was ready to take over. However, I will not give up. This is my rice field, my rice plants, and I am responsible for them. I will continue to care for these rice plants with great patience, making sure they grow well until harvest time. No matter how many times the snails return, I will continue to hunt them down one by one in every corner of the rice field, looking for snail eggs attached to the stems of the plants or on the surface of the water, so that I can destroy them before they hatch. The days ahead may be increasingly difficult, but I will not let these snails destroy my hard work and hopes. I will persist, continuing to care for these rice plants with great perseverance. Because I believe, as long as I do not give up, this rice field will remain green, and these young rice plants will grow well, bringing the harvest that I hope for. These little creatures may seem trivial to some, but to farmers like me, they are a real threat. They eat away at young plants, ruining the hope of a bountiful harvest. Some other farmers have suggested that I use snail control. Quick and effective, they say. I know they are right, but there is something inside me that rejects that method. Not because I doubt its effectiveness, but more because I feel I have to maintain the balance of nature. If all the snails in this rice field are simply wiped out by chemicals, what about the rest of the ecosystem? What about the other animals that might be affected? I choose a different path. Every morning and evening, I go down to the rice field, roll up my pants to my knees, and start hunting the snails with my own hands. I collect them in a bucket, making sure none are left in between the rice clumps. This may be more tiring, more time-consuming than simply spreading the medicine, but I believe it is better. At least, I am not endangering the water that flows to other rice fields or destroying the soil that has been my source of life. In addition, these snails do not immediately become trash. I give them to my neighbors who have ducks, because I know their ducks really like snails as food. That way, I not only protect my rice, but also benefit others. Maybe for some people, my way seems old-fashioned or troublesome. But for me, being a farmer is not just about planting and harvesting. It is also about protecting nature, about understanding that every creature has its own role, and that instant solutions are not always the best. I choose to hunt snails, not because I don't believe in other ways, but because I believe that in every effort we do with our hearts, there will always be better results. Hunting snails in rice fields is a common practice by farmers as an effort to protect rice plants from attacks by golden apple snails. Golden apple snails are known as pests that can cause significant damage to rice plants, especially in the early stages of growth. They eat newly planted rice seedlings, causing plants to be cut and float on the water surface, and reducing the population of plants that grow well. That's a bit of my story this morning. I'm sure every effort will definitely produce good results. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you next time.